I'll give you the heads up. All right, I'm going to get going if you're happy with that, Phil.
Yep.
All right. Welcome everyone to an important briefing session on Project Online Retires 30th of September. Here's what to do alongside our migration plan for you all. So this session is being recorded, and if you do have any questions, please feel free to leave them to the end where Phil will answer them. So today we'll be hosted by Phil. So I'll pass it over to you, Phil, please.
Thank you. Thanks, Ellie. And thanks everybody for joining today. So for the past 18 months, really, I've been very focused on this particular area, the upcoming end of Project Online. So working with lots of organisations across Australia to try and help them navigate through this PPM strategy and looking at different platforms and making decisions around which one to migrate to. And then particularly this recent scenario of the upcoming end of Project Online. So a very focused approach on what's coming up. So in today's session, where we're going to really try and keep things practical. There's a lot of noise out there at the moment, so around the retirement and what's going on. So our goal here is to give you a very clear picture of what's happening, what it means for you, and more importantly about what you can do next. Because at the end of the day, this isn't really something we can just push out or bump back onto the roadmap. It's definitely happening. September's coming up sooner than we think. So no extensions that we know about, and yeah, we'll be here faster than we know it. So what we're going to cover today are really three really high level areas. So what we know about the Project Online retirement, any updates we've heard recently, I'll quickly run you through that. I won't spend too long on this. Our main focus is a clearly defined option for migration from Project Online to Altus, where we're going to focus today. We can give you a realistic view of how to get to a supported production-ready environment before this deadline. So we'll give you some options around what that looks like. I'll keep it pretty straightforward. So not a big heavy sales pitch from us today, really just a briefing, what we're seeing around, what we're seeing across our clients right now. And so with that, let's jump into it. So I won't spend too much on the actual end of Project Online. We have done webinars in the past around the upcoming dates. We know September 30 is coming. And so if you're unaware, we can provide some more information around what is happening and why. But really today, what we're looking at is to move on to an understanding of what's going to occur. So our current understanding of the end date is that full access to Project Online will be cut. So we're looking to see or understand there's no access by the front end. You can't enter and get into Project Online and into the Project web app. And there's also no access via the API or OData. So even the reports that you have won't be able to refresh from the back-end data. We note that all related data will be removed. And a point that's been up for debate recently is about the linked SharePoint sites and all your documents and information in those SharePoint locations. We don't really have a defined answer from Microsoft around this. I have found a note or a post from one of their blogs, the Microsoft blog. There's the link there. I can get Ellie to share this around later with you if you're interested. But the note there, what about linked SharePoint sites, and their response, SharePoint sites linked to Project Online, such as Project Workspaces, will become unavailable after retirement, and you'll not be able to access these sites once Project Online is retired. So from that, we do have to draw the conclusion that they won't be available. We will lose access to all project sites and the lists and all your registers information in there. And the scripts that they provided also back this up. They help to get that information out. So it's very likely that we will lose access to those SharePoint sites. How they're going about this, we're not quite clear on at the moment, but to be safe, we need to make sure that we include this in the migration as well. Today, I mentioned we're going to focus on a particular strategy of moving from Project Online to Altus. In the past, we've looked at different options for Planner, Project Server, Project Operations, the different pathways that Microsoft has provided. But today, we are really looking at a fixed approach for moving from Project Online to the Altus tool. If you don't know about Altus and you haven't any background around what the Altus tool does, it is Sensei's flagship PPM tool. We provide this as a power app deployed into your environment, and it should meet the majority of your project and portfolio management needs. It does everything a PM would need to do, from risk management to financials, resourcing, scheduling, and our core focus is to allow you to link a project professional desktop schedule into Altus and continue with that practice you have in Product Online, publishing schedules and publishing scheduled data into a central database so that you can track it and use it in reporting. So that is our primary focus for this tool as a replacement to your current solution, and to allow you to continue with those ways of working largely unchanged. Altus is a full-fledged PPM tool itself. It moves the solution package into a future-ready state. It is built alongside the Microsoft roadmap in alignment with Power Platform. It has Power Automate for your workflows, has all the Power BI packs for all of reporting. So when we deploy this into your environment, it is a fully formed PPM tool ready to go. And I'll step you through what that looks like kind of day one for this migration. We add in some pre-product items, so there's some initiation with ideas and concepts and proposals pre-project, a full resource management module, and this all rolls up to a strategic overview so you can see that your organizational strategic plan is being delivered by a number of projects, and we can track the success of those projects delivering to that strategic plan. So just a quick overview of Altus, in case you haven't heard of it before. What we're going to focus on today is what a migration package looks like moving from Product Online into Altus. We're going to define a really clearly defined migration here that is a packageable and repeatable migration approach. Within that, there is a very fixed scope. And so the outcome of this is going to be, we've defined a pathway for migration that is very defined and finite. It doesn't include a lot of customization. So what that means is that it is very clear what you'll get as part of this migration. I'm going to walk you through that today, but there will be omissions. There will be things that or data that you're tracking in your Product Online environment that are not included as part of this migration, and we can discuss the options for including or extending that migration to cover those items and where that might fall. But really our focus is for this particular option as a last resort to try and get everything from Product Online out and into Altus prior to that September date. The package is a full form project. It does have kickoff, we do deployment, we do that migration exercise, we go into training, go live, and some hypercare. I'll run you through what those inclusions look like. But as noted, any integrations or custom reporting or governance workflows just wouldn't be included as part of this particular package. We can discuss with you what that might look like going forward. So again, just to reiterate, this is a clearly defined scope of a fixed price and fixed timeline migration to get from Product Online into an Altus environment deployed within your 365 tenant. So the migration project from start to finish is again clearly defined in what it provides and the steps we go through. There's a kickoff and planning meeting. We'll start to walk through some technical readiness with you, make sure your team is aware and happy with the deployment approach, and that the Power Platform environment is ready to accept and have Altus deployed into it. We do deploy 3 Altus environments, a dev, test, and prod, so we can give you access and allow you to see and play around in dev. We'll push our configurations and any future updates through that promotion process from a dev environment into test and into production. So those deployments will be done consistently. We do an Altus product walkthrough, so as it's deployed, we'll walk your team through what Altus does is out of the box, get you familiar with the product. We then move into some base configuration. So there is configure of the security roles. We look at product types and global calendars, do some stage gate name configuration to align the stage gates to your naming conventions, some cost categories, and the fiscal period. So some updates to the base product just to make it usable and get it ready as a starting point before we kick off that migration. The migration really looks to get everything from Product Online as that first step. We have to do some transformation of the data in between and then push it into Altus. We look at putting in so we pull the projects across, the schedules, and some baseline information. We roll up the financials into a high-level aggregated number and migrate those across. So you do have some project financials coming across into Altus. There's a migration for resources, risks and issues, and then the SharePoint folders into a defined link. We then move on from the migration into user acceptance testing. So make sure you're happy with the data that's moved across and that you do walk through Altus to see that everything is correct and in the right place. And then we do some post-migration steps with you and roll it out to the stakeholders. There's some training in the package included, so for different levels, an admin training, PM training, and end user training, and then we get to a go live position. Once we're live, we include some post-go live support options. So during that first week, some hypercare from the delivery team. They'll stay on board just to make sure everybody's on board correctly. There's no issues with getting access and that everything's running smoothly. Some ongoing updates from Altus as they release their new updates going forward. You'll get those released into your environment, and then we move on to a position of ongoing support. As a time frame, we looked again to try and keep this as succinct as possible. If we can get going, we'll have the kickoff planning and the Altus deployment preferably in that first week. If we can do some work with your team to do the technical readiness and preparation prior to the kickoff, we will try and get that done. So the IT team are very aware of what's required and are ready for the configuration of the M365 tenant to allow the Altus deployment to happen. Once that kickoff's done, we move into the migration, do those migration cycles and get you to validate that data as we go. We go to user training, eventually get to go live, and then we have that hypercare or priority support period, and hopefully get to product completion in that 5th week. So as you can see, really condensed time frame, really with the goal to get everything from product online into Altus really quickly, and then get you up and running in the new tool. So some post-migration steps. So we'll do that really well-defined migration activity, as again, that there'll be some things that are omitted. So there's some activities that you can do around the sides of that, but there are some steps your team will need to do once you're live in Altus. You need to assign a PMs up to the projects. Those PMs will need to review their projects. One of those steps is to look at the financials. As I mentioned, they'll be aggregated up to a high rolled up level. They may look to time phase those and reforecast their financials in Altus. Update resources, so review the bookable resource data. There might be some attributes you want to add for your resources in Altus. The team site, so connect a Teams site or channel, so you can link up your Teams chat with your different projects. You can move the MPP files into a more centralized SharePoint library for better version control and to give your PMO team more control over those files going forward. The PMs will need to update their schedules, so it's likely they will open the Microsoft Project Desktop file, do a publish, and do that initial publish into Altus, so getting all your updated data in there. There's some dependencies that might need to be applied. So if you have cross-project dependencies, that's something you'll just have to apply once you're in Altus, and then any register updates. So if there will be a scenario where there might be new or extra fields available in Altus that you may like to add data to, that may have not been migrated or didn't exist in the past. And so it might be that you now have the opportunity to add more and more extensive data into each of the project registers. So some steps that we'll walk through with you for activities that your team will need to do with some support from us post that migration process. Moving on to timelines. So as we all know, the end date is that 30 September deadline we're working towards. So working backwards from that, we do have to be off from Product Online 30 September, so we don't want to leave it right till then. As I mentioned, we're trying to minimize any blackout period that might occur beyond that date and losing access to any date that you might get your new PPM tool up and running. Preferably it would be you definitely have to have all data at least exported from Product Online around the 25th of September. I would provide or leave some contingency for that, so make sure that we're not pushing up against that date and risk losing access to it and not having it complete in time. You can do things like save static versions of your reports, so you have a good visual of the front end of what you expect from Product Online. There are also some ways that we can back up from the API and push data into potentially somewhere to store it for a period of time. The 19th of August is exactly 6 weeks before that September end date. So with zero contingency in that 6-week period, your last chance is that 19th of August to kick off. So we'd want to try and have that as our absolute last resort. Coming back, the preferable date would be 7th of August. You've got a couple of weeks contingency, but still cutting it really fine. That does mean we need to have kind of contracts in place. And as we've been experiencing, that contract review and execution period has been the longest migration. So mid-June, which is coming up very soon, is really where we look to see contracts and commercial discussions being finalised to not impact even that 7th of August date to have those activities started. So as you can see, very short defined time frame, and you'd want to be progressing very quickly, and again, not leaving it to the last minute. It just increases the risk as you proceed. So support during this period with the project team aligned and running your migration, you have active support during that period. We have experts in both Project Online and obviously in Altus. We can provide you with real-time support as you're doing running this activity. So both help with completing and getting your project data correct in the Project Online side, any transformation we need to do between the two tools, and then that familiarization with the Altus tool once you are across to the Altus side. And we can help with some knowledge transfer. And as I mentioned, there's included training as part of the package. If beyond this project you would like ongoing support, Sensei does have a dedicated client care support team providing ongoing support for Altus. We can arrange a review of a client care agreement with you to see what ongoing support would look like. So there is support available as we proceed during this engagement, and then beyond this as we get live. So we're trying to provide as much information as we can around this. So there is some information that you can download from the information sheet. Ellie will provide the link out to you. It provides the information I've run through today. If you do anything else, we're happy to have a discussion with you and walk through the details. Again, just to recap, so this particular package we're looking at is an option to just do this migration as really a last resort. There are some alternatives around adding additional scope. As we mentioned, there'll be things that you would like to do or further data you would like to migrate. We can look at those additional scope items. However, that's likely to be beyond this package being completed. So we would do your migration first and then look at a phase 2 of doing any additional configuration beyond that. It might be that we can get information out of Project Online and store it to the side for a period of time until the destination is configured correctly in the Altus side and is there to accept that migrated data across. But what we're looking to do is, a really well-defined package up front that at least gets you across in time. If we're beyond that date, beyond September, we have the opportunity to look at enhancing Altus and meeting some of those nice to have items. We can start to look at those as secondary options, but that would at least have you live in the tool beyond September. So information we can provide, happy for you to reach out and download this or get in touch for some more information. Both myself and Karen are available to walk you through this. We can give you some more information about what we've talked about today or open up those opportunities for other alternatives. I'll open up for some questions. If there's anything you'd like to look at in particular, we can walk through it, but alternatively, open for some questions. No, all quiet, nothing in the chat.
We have one come through in the chat. Would you like me to read it out for you?
Sure.
Yep. What about custom fields? Would they be migrated as the part of the base migration?
Yeah, sure. So great question. Thanks, Charity. The custom fields are one of those elements that they are there in obviously to extract from Project Online, and we can hold that data for you. This configuration package really looks at just doing a defined migration and defined scope, so it doesn't include those custom fields. So my position I just ran through, so it might be the situation where you can store those for a time being and then promote them into your Altus environments beyond 30 September. Or alternatively, it might be if you can get this done really quickly, have a space to do those configurations before September 30, you potentially could get them in there prior to that cutover. There is a position that anything that isn't included, things like risk and issue fields, there is a way to bulk update into Altus. So there are some Excel opportunities to push data into Altus from a centralized standpoint. So not having all your PMs do it individually, your PMO team or potentially your IT team can help to bulk update those registers with additional information. So it's not part of the scope, but there are some ways we can help you to get additional information into Altus for that day one, hopefully to assist with your PMs as they get into the tool, seeing everything they need and being very familiar with the data that's in there. So the scope of this is very well locked down. It'll be how quickly or what are some other options around the size of this can we look at in either pre-September or that post-September period to accommodate that. Any other questions? Last chance. No, all good. Well then, thank you very much for all of your attention today. I really appreciate it. If you do have anything else or you would like to reach out afterwards, please send us through a request. I'm happy to catch up with you and discuss and go through anything we've discussed today. Thank you, everybody. I'll chat to you later.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.